Your body is storing fat right now, and it may have nothing to do with how much you eat. There is a simple food used for generations in Japan that quietly switches your body out of fat storage mode and helps rebuild the bacteria inside your gut. It is not a supplement, it is not a strict diet, and it does not require extreme effort. People who eat it every morning often stay lean without constantly thinking about food, and the reason behind it is far more surprising than most people expect. Here is where things take a strange turn. Many everyday foods that seem normal are actually feeding the wrong kind of bacteria in your gut. These bacteria send signals that increase hunger, slow down metabolism, and push your body to hold on to fat. In this video, you will discover how a single traditional Japanese food works deep inside your body, how it supports the growth of beneficial bacteria, and how that shift can naturally reduce fat storage. You will learn why morning timing makes this effect stronger and how a small daily habit can influence your energy, cravings, and digestion throughout the entire day. The most surprising part is how simple this change really is. No complex plans, no extreme restrictions, just a consistent habit that works with your body instead of against it. As the video continues, you will see how this one food creates a chain reaction inside your system, leading to changes that feel almost effortless over time. Many people miss this because they focus on the surface level of dieting, while the real control center sits deeper inside the gut. Stay with this video until the end, because the final insight brings everything together and reveals why the problem was never just food or calories, but something much more fundamental. Once you understand this, the way you look at fat loss and health will begin to shift. Welcome to our channel, where simple truths create powerful changes. Subscribe now and be part of a journey that helps you understand your body in a smarter, deeper way. For years, the same message has been repeated everywhere. Fat gain comes down to calories. Eat less food, move more, stay disciplined. On the surface, it sounds logical and simple, yet for many people, the results never match the effort. There are those who carefully reduce their portions, count every bite, push themselves to exercise more, and still feel stuck in the same place. The body does not respond the way it is expected to, and over time, frustration begins to replace motivation. Something deeper is happening beneath that surface. Inside the body, there is an entire ecosystem living in the gut, made up of trillions of bacteria. These bacteria are not passive. They are active, constantly sending signals that influence hunger, energy use, and even how the body decides to store fat. When this system is balanced, the body works smoothly. Appetite feels stable, cravings stay under control, and energy levels remain steady throughout the day. However, when this balance is disrupted, everything begins to shift. Certain types of bacteria start to dominate, feeding on processed foods and sugar. As they grow stronger, they send signals that increase hunger and push the body towards storing more fat. Metabolism begins to slow, not because of a lack of effort, but because the internal signals have changed. This creates a cycle where the more a person tries to restrict food, the stronger these signals become. This is why two people can eat similar meals and experience completely different results. One body burns energy efficiently, while the other holds on to it. The difference often comes from what is happening inside the gut, rather than what is visible on the plate. This hidden factor explains why traditional advice alone does not always lead to lasting change. Now, here is where things start to shift in an unexpected way. There are certain foods that do more than provide nutrients. They directly influence the balance of bacteria in the gut. Instead of feeding the harmful strains, they support the growth of beneficial ones. As this balance begins to change, the signals sent to the body also begin to change. And there is one specific food used daily in parts of Japan that has a unique ability to trigger this shift. When it becomes part of a regular routine, it starts to influence the gut environment within a short period of time, creating a noticeable internal change that continues to build with consistency. Right now, your body may be operating in a state where storing fat feels automatic. Meals are eaten with care, portions are reduced, yet the results remain slow or completely unchanged. It starts to feel confusing because the effort is there, but the outcome does not reflect it. This situation often has less to do with how much food is being consumed and more to do with what is happening deep inside the gut, where balance has quietly shifted over time. Inside the digestive system, different types of bacteria compete for space and survival. When the diet includes a high amount of processed food, refined carbohydrates, and added sugar, certain bacteria begin to thrive more than others. These are the types that rely on quick energy sources, and as they grow, they begin to dominate the environment. Sugar becomes their primary fuel, allowing them to multiply rapidly and strengthen their influence. As this imbalance develops, the signals sent from the gut to the brain begin to change. Hunger increases in a way that feels difficult to control, often appearing soon after meals. Cravings become more intense, especially for foods that continue to feed these bacteria. At the same time, the body starts to conserve energy more aggressively. Metabolism slows down, making it harder to burn calories efficiently, even during physical activity. This internal shift also affects how the body handles fat. Instead of using stored energy, the body begins to hold on to it. Fat storage becomes a priority, almost like a protective response, even when there is no real need for it. This can happen quietly, without obvious signs at first, but over time it leads to gradual weight gain or an inability to lose weight despite consistent effort. The most frustrating part is how invisible this process feels. From the outside, it appears as if the issue is a lack of discipline or consistency, yet the real cause is hidden beneath the surface. The body is following the signals it receives, and those signals are being shaped by the state of the gut. This is why it often feels like a constant struggle. Effort is met with resistance, progress feels slow, and motivation begins to fade. Even with strong intention and repeated attempts, the body continues to respond in the same way, creating the sense that something is always working against you. In Japan, this issue is approached from a completely different angle, one that does not revolve around constant restriction or strict calorie counting. The focus shifts away from fighting the body and moves toward understanding how the body actually functions on the inside. Instead of seeing fat gain as a simple equation of food intake and exercise, there is a deeper awareness of the internal systems that quietly influence these outcomes every single day. Daily habits are built around supporting digestion and maintaining balance within the gut. Meals are often designed to nourish the body in a way that feels sustainable rather than forced. There is less emphasis on cutting things out and more attention given to adding the right kinds of foods that help the body regulate itself naturally. This approach creates a steady rhythm where the body is guided into a state that supports better energy use and overall stability. At the center of this approach is the idea that the gut plays a key role in shaping how the body responds to food. When the gut is supported, the signals it sends begin to shift. Hunger becomes more predictable, cravings lose their intensity, and the body starts to process nutrients in a more efficient way. This creates a subtle but important change, one that builds over time without the need for extreme measures. Among the many traditional foods that are part of this lifestyle, one stands out for its unique properties. It has been used for generations, often included as a simple part of the morning routine. Its appearance and texture can feel unusual to those unfamiliar with it, and its strong characteristics make it easy to overlook at first. Yet beneath that surface, it carries a powerful effect that directly interacts with the gut environment. This food works quietly, supporting the growth of beneficial bacteria while helping reduce the presence of less helpful strains. As this shift takes place, the internal signals connected to hunger, metabolism, and fat storage begin to change as well. It does not rely on extreme actions or complicated routines. Instead, it fits into daily life in a way that feels simple and consistent, gradually influencing how the body behaves from within. The food is called fermented soy, more widely known as natto. It has been part of Japanese tradition for centuries, often eaten as a simple breakfast alongside rice. At first glance, it does not look appealing to everyone. The texture is sticky, with long strings that stretch as it is lifted, and the smell is strong enough to surprise anyone trying it for the first time. Because of this, it has never become widely popular outside Japan, and many people ignore it without ever understanding what it actually does inside the body. Despite its unusual appearance, natto is created through a natural fermentation process that transforms ordinary soybeans into something far more active. During this process, beneficial bacteria develop and multiply, turning the food into a living source of support for the gut. These bacteria are not just passing through the body, they interact with the gut environment, influencing the balance between different microbial strains in a direct and meaningful way. As natto is consumed, these beneficial bacteria begin to settle into the digestive system, supporting the growth of other helpful microbes that are already present. This creates a gradual shift in the gut environment. Instead of allowing harmful bacteria to dominate, the balance begins to move in favor of those that support digestion and metabolic function. Over time, this change starts to influence how the body reacts to food, how energy is used, and how hunger signals are managed. The compounds produced during fermentation also play an important role. Enzymes and bioactive elements formed in natto become available to the body in a way that is easy to absorb. These elements interact with internal processes that are connected to digestion and nutrient use, adding another layer to its effect. This is why natto is often seen as more than just a source of nutrition. It acts as a functional food, one that actively participates in shaping the internal environment. Even though its taste and texture can take time to get used to, its impact is not something that can be judged from the outside. The real changes begin internally, where it starts to influence systems that are rarely noticed directly. With regular use, this small addition to the diet begins to interact with the body in ways that go far beyond what most foods typically offer. This food carries a dense concentration of beneficial bacteria that become active as soon as it enters the digestive system. These bacteria are already adapted to survive and interact within the gut, which allows them to begin working almost immediately. As they move through the digestive tract, they start to support the existing community of helpful microbes, creating conditions that favor their growth. This process does not rely on force or sudden change, but rather on gradually shifting the balance in a way that feels natural for the body. As this shift begins, the gut environment becomes more stable, beneficial bacteria start to multiply, using available nutrients more efficiently and producing compounds that support digestion. At the same time, the bacteria that thrive on processed food and sugar begin to lose their advantage. Their numbers slowly decrease as they are no longer being supported in the same way. This quiet competition changes the overall environment, influencing how signals are sent from the gut to the rest of the body. These signals play a direct role in how hunger is experienced. When beneficial bacteria become more dominant, they help regulate appetite in a more controlled and steady manner. The sharp spikes in hunger begin to soften, and cravings lose their intensity. This does not happen through restriction, but through a change in the internal messaging system that guides when and how the body asks for food. Digestion also begins to feel different as this balance improves. Nutrients are broken down and absorbed more effectively, reducing the strain on the digestive system. This allows the body to use energy in a more efficient way rather than storing it unnecessarily. The process becomes smoother, creating a sense of stability that can be felt throughout the day. As these internal changes continue, the way the body handles fat begins to shift. The signals that once encouraged storage start to weaken, while those that support energy use become stronger. This change does not happen in isolation, but as part of a larger adjustment within the gut environment. The body begins to respond differently, guided by signals that are now more balanced and supportive of overall function. When the gut begins to move back into balance, the body responds in a way that feels calm and steady. Internal systems that once signaled stress and scarcity begin to quiet down. This shift creates a sense of safety at a biological level where the body no longer feels the need to protect itself by holding on to excess energy. Instead of preparing for shortage, it starts to operate with a more stable rhythm, using energy in a way that feels natural and consistent. This sense of safety influences how fat is managed. When the body receives balanced signals from the gut, it becomes less focused on storing and more open to using stored energy when needed. The constant push toward fat storage begins to fade, replaced by a more flexible system that adapts based on actual needs rather than internal confusion. This change does not rely on force or restriction. It develops through the gradual alignment of signals that guide metabolism and energy use. As this process continues, eating patterns begin to feel easier to manage. Hunger becomes more predictable, showing up at appropriate times rather than appearing suddenly and intensely. The urge to snack constantly begins to decrease, making it easier to go longer periods without thinking about food. This creates a natural structure throughout the day where meals feel satisfying and the need for excess intake slowly disappears. People who include this type of food in their daily routine often experience this shift over time. Their bodies begin to operate in a way that supports balance rather than resistance. Energy levels feel more stable, and the constant struggle associated with dieting starts to fade into the background. The body is no longer being pushed or controlled from the outside, but guided from within through more stable internal signals. This approach stands in contrast to methods that rely on extreme measures. There is no need for strict limitations that create stress or cycles of deprivation. Instead of fighting hunger, the body begins to regulate it more naturally. The process feels less like a battle and more like a steady adjustment where small, consistent habits influence deeper systems that shape how the body responds over time. Morning creates a unique state inside the body, one that is different from any other time of the day. After hours of rest, the digestive system is relatively empty, and internal processes are more receptive to what comes next. This is the moment when the gut is more open to influence, making it an ideal time to introduce something that can shape its environment in a positive way. The body is already transitioning from a resting state to an active one, and the signals it receives during this window begin to guide how the rest of the day will unfold. When this food is consumed in the morning, its beneficial bacteria enter a system that is ready to absorb and respond. With fewer competing elements present in the gut, these bacteria can interact more directly with the internal environment. This allows them to begin influencing the balance of microbes more effectively, supporting the growth of beneficial strains at a time when they can establish a stronger presence. The impact of this early interaction continues to build as the day progresses. This timing also affects how the body manages energy. The first signals sent from the gut after waking help determine how hunger, cravings, and metabolism will behave in the hours ahead. When the gut receives support early in the day, these signals tend to become more stable. Hunger appears in a more controlled way, without sudden spikes, and energy levels remain more consistent instead of fluctuating rapidly. This creates a smoother experience throughout the day where the body feels less reactive and more balanced. Digestion also benefits from this early support. As the day begins, the digestive system prepares to process incoming food, and introducing something that enhances gut function at this stage can improve how nutrients are handled. This can lead to better absorption and less strain, allowing the body to use what it receives more efficiently rather than storing excess energy unnecessarily. Over time, this small morning habit begins to shape a pattern. Each day starts with a signal that supports balance, and that signal carries forward into everything that follows. The body gradually adapts to this rhythm, responding more predictably and with less resistance. What seems like a simple addition becomes part of a larger internal shift, influencing how the body feels and functions from the very beginning of the day. Starting with a small amount allows the body to respond in a gradual and comfortable way. A few bites in the morning is enough to begin interacting with the gut without overwhelming the system or creating resistance. This approach keeps the process simple and manageable, especially for those who are trying it for the first time. The texture and taste may feel unfamiliar at the beginning, so keeping the portion small makes it easier to build the habit without pressure. As the body begins to adjust, the internal environment slowly starts to respond to the presence of beneficial bacteria. This adjustment phase is important because the gut needs time to shift its balance. Changes do not rely on sudden large amounts, but on repeated exposure that allows the system to adapt naturally. Each small serving adds to this process, supporting the growth of helpful microbes while gently reducing the influence of less beneficial ones. Giving the body time to adapt also helps avoid discomfort. Since the gut is a sensitive system, introducing any new element gradually creates a smoother transition. This steady approach allows the digestive system to learn how to work with these changes rather than reacting against them. Over time, this leads to a more stable internal environment where the body begins to respond more positively to what it receives. Consistency plays a much larger role than quantity in this process. A small amount taken regularly has a stronger impact than a large amount taken occasionally. Daily repetition creates a pattern that the body can recognize and respond to. This pattern helps reinforce the growth of beneficial bacteria, allowing them to maintain their presence and continue influencing internal signals over time. This approach shifts the focus away from eating more food and towards supporting the right kind of activity within the gut. The goal is not to increase intake, but to provide the body with something that works at a deeper level. By doing this consistently, the internal environment begins to change in a way that feels steady and sustainable. The body responds to this regular input by gradually adjusting its processes, guided by the signals coming from a more balanced gut system. So it turns out, this was never just about the food on your plate. It goes deeper than calories, deeper than portion sizes, deeper than willpower. What truly shapes your body is what is happening inside you every single day. The bacteria living in your gut are constantly sending signals, quietly influencing your hunger, your metabolism, and the way your body decides to store or use fat. When that internal system is out of balance, everything feels like a struggle. Effort feels heavier, progress feels slower, and results never seem to last. But when that balance begins to shift, something changes. The body starts to respond in a different way. Hunger becomes more controlled. Cravings begin to fade, and energy feels more stable. Instead of working against you, your body starts to move in the same direction as your goals. This is where the real shift happens, where the focus moves away from restriction and toward support, allowing the body to function the way it was meant to. This is why the real solution is not found in extreme diets or constant control. It is found in understanding and improving what is living inside you. When the gut is supported, the signals it sends begin to align with balance and stability. Over time, this creates a natural change that feels easier to maintain and more consistent in its results. And that leads to a powerful realization. The fat was never the real problem. The imbalance inside your gut was shaping everything from the background, influencing outcomes in ways that often go unnoticed. Once that begins to change, the entire system starts to respond differently. Try this for a few days and pay close attention to how your body feels. Notice the changes in hunger, in energy, in the way your body reacts throughout the day. These small signals reveal more than any number on a scale. If this gave you a new perspective, like this video and subscribe to our channel for more simple truths that can help you understand your body in a smarter way.